Utilities are implementing smart grid strategies that will allow them to develop with great precision demand-shaping programs that will allow them to operate more efficiently and nimbly. But are the great hopes for renewables and efficiency realistic or pipe dreams? Our two panelists now are going to each help us address that in some detail.
First, the resource of choice in the Northwest for serving load growth is energy efficiency, but there's a heck of a lot of work to be done to realize its full potential. Second, there's a lot of wind power that has been developed and that is being developed, much of which appears to be for export, at least outside of the Bonneville Balancing Authority. And third, renewables for export create a set of unique challenges which need to be addressed up front to avoid stymieing the resource development. And I think this is important in terms of a learning for the rest of the country because we're talking about developing a lot of renewables in remote sites and moving them to load. We're going to have to figure out how to make that work. So you have to address both the reliability problem and the cost challenges in order to be able to make this work. Our general view has been we're going to be fairly conservative on this because we think that nothing could be worse for renewable resource development than to have a significant reliability event occur. So we're trying to manage this to make sure that doesn't happen.
At the most basic level, in today's environment, renewables cost more than conventional coal-fired generation, for example. And although costs have been coming down over a long-term time period, we don't see that fundamentally changing today. So why are we interested in renewables? Well, obviously we're interested in renewables for two fundamental reasons, at least in our view. One is climate change, and the other is energy independence. Take away those two factors, and I don't think you could really make the case for renewables. But those two factors, we think, are extremely powerful. As you've heard from some other panelists, they are classic examples of what economists call externalities. They're not priced into markets today. And that represents the number one challenge that we see for renewables. So as many speakers have said here today, as Ralph said at lunch, we need to see a price on carbon before we will really see a level playing field for renewables.
Steve, as I understand that there have been instances where the wind generation was such in the Northwest that you had to back off use of hydroelectric resources. And that implies a degree of waste and inefficiency. What's the problem?
The fundamental problem is they're both resources that have zero variable cost. And so when you have two zero variable cost resources, they compete with each other. So you will have shut down everything that has some variable operating cost, the coal plants, the gas plants, et cetera. But then what confounds the market some is production tax credit and renewable portfolio standards, because in effect the wind developers lose money if they don't operate, and the hydro developer doesn't. So you move then into negative pricing, and that's going to be a fundamental problem, I think, in terms of how this goes forward.